Tabletop RPG rulebooks and systems can seem big and intimidating. On Too Long Didn't Play, we break down the seemingly complex content of tabletop RPGs in about 5 minutes so you can decide if you want to check a system out in more detail. While your Minotaur friend battles wits with the ghost captain of the ship, you reach your hand in the cadaver, forcing your way up through the ribcage and then wrapping your hand around the alchemically powered heart. The ghost screams out betrayal in rage as the dead body, your arm deep in, suddenly raises up its sword and tries to attack you. Rather than rolling away, you pull down and out on the heart that still beats and pulses in your hand. The ship that you're floating on in the tail of this comet pitches to the side as the captain howls out again in anger. You're thrown across the rigging and out over the edge into the emptiness of space. Hopefully your ship, the Void of Night, has finished repositioning down below, because otherwise you'll be falling for a long time. Now, creating a character in Spacejammer, or in most Traveler hacks, of which there are very few, is one of the most enjoyable ways to create a character. And if you've never done so before, Chronicles of the Spacejammer is a gentle game to start that with. To begin the character creation minigame, pick a name, your race. Really, in this situation, any fantasy one is fine. The district of the city of Enoch you grew up in, and then roll 2d6 7 times to establish your stats and a little bit about your background. High stats are going to give you bonuses to future rolls in play and character creation. Low stats will give you penalties. After this, you pick 2 starting characteristics, things that are important about your character. They can be physical features of your race, skills you've learned from your time in the past, or knowledge that you've gained from school or other things. All of this tells you who your character is roughly at the age of 18. Then you begin moving your character forward in time about 4 years at a pass through the collegiate years, education, military service, and work. If they do well in school, they may do higher education, or they may just go straight to their first job in the Senate or the military, or become an odd jobber on ships or around the city. Every time you make one of these choices, there's a specific set of prompts and a table that you roll on with a specific stat. Depending on how well you roll, you may win awards, money, favors, or goods. You also might end up crippled with debt, injured, or left on a planet and have to work your way back. You learn a number of skills through this process, and your stats may go up or down as your backstory reveals itself. This may seem like a lot, but it's actually a really simple and intuitive process that kind of feels like a choose-your-own-adventure style journey. And it tells you who your character is and their experiences for the first 22 to 34 years of their life. So unlike in the original character creation process for Traveler, you can't die in Spacejammer. The mechanics for Spacejammer are pretty classic Traveler with influence from a few other systems. In Spacejammer, you want to roll an 8 or higher on 2d6 modified by your stats and skill bonuses in most situations for success. If you need an extra oomph, you can sometimes lose a stat point temporarily to boost your roll, but be careful because in Spacejammer, like in Traveler, stat points are also your hit points. I had a blast playing Traveler with our crew a few weeks ago, and even went back around a few times and created a couple additional characters using the extended character creation process when Richard invited a few of us to do so last week just to test the process out. It may be no surprise that Spacejammer draws some of its setting influences from AD&D's Spelljammer, but for me this is actually one of the greatest attractions. In the middle of all the retro clones we're seeing right now, Spelljammer and a few other settings in AD&D haven't been touched on heavily yet, and they're some of my favorites. I also love the idea of using the Traveler SRD and Troika as a way to back into something in the retro clone space. One of the things that both indie RPG scene and the OSR mindset call for is narrative realities as a primary over character abilities. In Chronicles of the Spacejammer, we see these two design and play mindsets getting reintroduced to each other in a way that embraces the history of both and pushes us cleanly and smoothly into the common spaces that trad games and narrative games both serve well. Also, if that last sentence or two didn't make any sense to you, I'm sorry. Basically, I think Spacejammer does something that creates a bridge between two different types of play and eras of gameplay and design that I think both deserve deep appreciation and support. So if you finished your time in the Academy and served your stint in the Senate, or if you skipped it all and spent the last few years odd jobbing around the stars, if you're ready to grab a cutlass and swing from the rigging, travel the spheres, and make your fortune, then grab a few friends you think you can trust and jam your way on over to Chronicles of the Spacejammer, Enoch's Wake. Thanks for watching. I'm Tony Vasinda, Chief Alchemist over at Plus One Exp, where we multi-class and tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. If you have thoughts about Spacejammer Enoch's Wake, or if there's a system you want to know more about but don't have the time to learn, let us know in the comments below or at Plus One Exp on any social media platform. And if you want to hear more about the fusion of sci-fi, fantasy, indie, and OSR alike, then ring the ship's bell and we'll let you know when we have another tale to tell you.